So now I'm back to do this section, and I thought I'll do these parts first together, and then I'll come back and do the separate video on the other chapter. So this is Isaiah, and I thought I'd read this one verse again, and then go to 52 and 53. So Isaiah 50, verse 6, I gave my back to those who struck me, and my cheeks to those who plucked out the beard. I did not hide my face from shame and spitting. Okay, so there's that. Now, 52. And it is this part down here, 13 to 15. Okay, so behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. Just as many were astonished at you, so his visage was marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. So shall he sprinkle many nations. Kings shall shut their mouths at him. For what had not been told them they shall see, and what they had not heard they shall consider. Okay, so another thing is, all when reading all this to keep in mind is, after this, of course, follows, well, you know what, I'll say it later. Let me just read through this first. It'll be better that way. Okay, so Isaiah 53. Who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of dry ground. He has no form or comeliness. And when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. All we, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned, every one, to his own way. And the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who will declare his generation? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgressions of my people he was stricken. And they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death, because he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Okay, so here I'll first go over the details. I mean, this is word for word the crucifixion, okay? I mean, when you read it in Matthew or any of the four Gospels, you see the same details, and there are other details in the Psalms, like there's Psalm 22 and Psalm 69. Maybe I should do those too. But let me first go over this. So I talked about 50 with, that part. Now, here, this part, yeah, I mean, the things that happened, this wasn't just, okay, death, burial, and resurrection. I mean, there was so much torment that took place. So the fact that just reading some of these lines, and there have been research studies on what actually would have happened, and just a physical, what's the word, just torment of all that what happened. So all that alone, not only when people think about the resurrection, it's just like, oh, okay, boom, he's up again. But there had to be also a miraculous healing that would take place to restore the body in every way, because he was, of course, perfectly whole when he was resurrected. So that's, another aspect of that had to happen first. And that's why many times when it mentions it in the Gospels, like the disciples didn't recognize him right away. I mean, if your beard is all of a sudden gone, right? I mean, you'd look very different. You see that when somebody has a long beard and all of a sudden they shave it one day, right? And they show up and you don't even recognize them. So, and who knows what else. So, we just know, he was intact. I mean, there were no broken bones or any of that, but I don't know about scars, so there are things like this. So they didn't recognize him, but it was him. Okay, and now here, let's see. Yes, this. Of course, the rejection, and they hide, from this whole thing. There's that. And then here we have, the sin bearer bearing the sin of humanity, a sin offering, an atonement. All those things in the Old Testament are fulfilled here. And this part, of course, too, he was silent as a lamb, which he was, the, Passover lamb. So, he was silent, and that's what happened. When you read the account of the arrest and crucifixion, he was silent. And, they had misjudged the whole thing, obviously, but yeah. And then, he was just bearing the sin. It wasn't anything other than that, anything else. But so, and this is all, the purpose of God to be fulfilled. I mean, you had to have a high priest system to offer the Lamb of God. I mean, that's how it has to work. Okay, so, and this thing, the grave with the wicked, it's the same as up there. He was numbered with the transgressors. Well, on each side, there was, three there, and on each side, right and left, there was crucified an actual sinner, like a, what was it, a robber, or they were revolting, or whatever it was, but they admitted, they were sinful. So there were sinners on either side, but he was the holy, sinless, perfect, spotless, without blemish Lamb of God. So, but on each side, so numbered with the transgressors, we have that aspect here, and this same thing here. And then, but with the rich at his death, because that rich man that Joseph, that was what of Arimathea, was it? He buried him in his own tomb, but he was very rich, and he, offered that. So there you go with the rich at his death, And then here, of course, the same sinless thing. And then, the whole thing about the offering for sin, the whole thing. And then what is the result? He sees the result eventually later. And all the souls that are saved are like the children, the seed that comes from this. And here, again, justify many. It was for all, but many get justified. Not, you have to receive it for that to apply to you. So, yeah. He bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. So he was the high priest, making the actual one, making intercession for sinful humanity. So, this is just what was happening. Yeah, so there's so many things I could say, but let me jump over to these Psalms real quick. I'll go over them again when I'm over there. Well, here's one of them, but let me get the other one first. Oh, yeah. Yep. That's it. Put this in here for the other one. Okay. Psalm 22. Okay. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me and from the words of my groaning? And so it goes on. I don't know how many of these. I didn't look at this ahead of time. Here, all those who see me ridicule me. They shoot out the lip, they shake the head, saying, He trusted in the Lord, let him rescue him, let him deliver him, since he delights in him. That's exactly what they said to him when he was hanging on the cross. And then here, many bulls have surrounded me, strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. They gape at me with their mouths like a raging and roaring lion. I am poured out like water, all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it has melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue clings to my jaws. You have brought me to the dust of death, for dogs have surrounded me. The congregation of the wicked has enclosed me. Oh, here it is. They pierced my hands and my feet. I mean, can you orchestrate that ahead of time? No. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They look and stare at me. Oh, they divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. That's exactly what happened. I mean, it's all fulfilled prophecy. I don't know how somebody wouldn't see it. So anyway, it goes on, you know, more of these exclamations and things. And then here, this is like a picture of the resurrection because he's there again praising God. So, okay. And there are a lot of details, but it's just that is the idea. Yeah. So anyway, so there's all that. And then now 69 is another one. There's some here and there, but this is a real significant one for this as well. Okay. Well, here, I'm just scanning this to see, you know, because it's not the whole thing, I guess. It's just some of it. So, those who hate me without a cause are more than the hairs of my head. They are mighty who would destroy me, being my enemies wrongfully. Though I have stolen nothing, I still must restore it. Okay, well, he didn't have any of that, but, you know, as I said, some of it. Some of it applies and some of it doesn't. That's why I'm, you know, looking at all these details here. Here, this one. I have become a stranger to my brothers and an alien to my mother's children, because zeal for your house has eaten me up, and the reproaches of those who reproach you have fallen on me. Yeah, here's more. Okay. You know my reproach, my shame, and my dishonor. So, I mean, not, you know, really, but just in their eyes. My adversaries are all before you. Reproach has broken my heart, and I am full of heaviness. I looked for someone to take pity, but there was none, and for comforters, but I found none. They also gave me gall for my food, and for my thirst, they gave me vinegar to drink. So that again is exactly what happened there. Okay, so yeah, I mean, those were the details there. That's pretty much the end of that part. I'll just move this and put this back here. There we go. So, those were the passages that relate to that, and you know, I thought I might as well read them all together there, and it really is. All these prophecies have been fulfilled at that time, so that's what it's speaking about. If you happen to be new to this, then I would just say, get a full Bible, like a New Testament as well as an Old Testament, and you can compare all these prophecies that have been fulfilled. And there's a long list. I go over them when I go over this, I go over all these. So, but it's a long list, and I'm actually adding to the list I already have as I'm doing this time around. But I'm going to retype this list and make it a lot better, but more clear. But anyway, so that's the thing. Jesus is the Messiah. He came to fulfill everything that he was supposed to fulfill, and all the prophecies have been fulfilled. For the first arrival, it's split into two arrivals. The second arrival, he deals with the ruling and reigning and all that. The wrath of God comes on the earth, all these things, and in between, you have this mystery gap of the church age. So that's just how it's set up, and that's what's happening. So we're almost at the time. You know what else is interesting? I mean, in Daniel too, in chapter 9, it says this with the 70 weeks of years and how the Messiah would be cut off in chapter 9. And it's again not for him, but for the people. It's an atonement. So, but it mentions those 69 weeks of years. It doesn't mention the 70th week of years. And that's the week that's there before his return. See? And the 69 weeks were there before the first arrival. So it's just set up that way. There's another split in the middle, and that's what's there. So the 69 weeks are explained in detail of the 70 weeks, but the 70th week, there isn't any mention of it because that's the 7-year tribulation period. So that week, and it says specifically 70 weeks for your people, which is referring to the Hebrew people. So that week, there's going to be stuff happening over there, okay? And that's the 7-year tribulation. But there are people who claim, oh, the Bible doesn't say anything about a 7-year period, a 7-year tribulation. Well, it's that 7 years, the 70th week, a week of years is 7 years, and that is the 1 week before the return. So that is the 7-year period, before the return. And it's just the tribulation period, although the first part isn't very heavy. It's the second half that's heavy. The first half is not that heavy, but the second half, the 3.5 years at the end, is heavy. Again, I won't go into all that right now, but that's the heavy, heavy time. So that is it for this. I'll be back for the last video for today. Okay, and don't forget, Jesus is the Messiah.